scoot back more, but is Real Life and Realty. And we are here to talk about anything. Please feel free to comment, ask questions. That's what I'm here for. Hopefully I can answer as many questions of yours as I can. I know last week some of the questions came in a little bit later and I wasn't able to see them. Someone asked me last week about a reverse mortgage. So hi Jerry. So next week, Mark I forgot what company is coming here, and he is going to be talking about reverse mortgage. He was with Summit Funding, now he's with someone else. He's going to be talking about reverse mortgages for all of those who are interested in it. I know some people have older grandparents or people on Social Security and it's just not making enough, and a reverse mortgage is really the right thing to do. So we're going to do over that. While I'm waiting for people, I will share some fun, interesting facts. I guess Keller Williams International got voted the #1 real estate company in the whole entire United States. So yay, Keller Williams. Also, the career site of Career Bliss made Keller Williams the #1 company to work for, the #1 happiest company, followed by Nike, Total Quality Logistics #3, Adobe 4, Bristol Myers 8, Chevron 6. That'd be interesting, Chevron. But we are #1, so yay, Keller Williams. Oh, my mom's on. Hi, Mom. Today we are going to be talking about value, what determines value, what appraisers say about value, and what you need to do. I have a lot of people interested in selling their houses, and they say their house isn't ready yet to sell. They need to do a few repairs. They ask me, should I do this? Should I do that? I am open to go to anyone's house before you sell it, even if you are a few months away, and kind of give you a one-on-one as to what I feel will help your value. A lot of people spend more money than they need to fixing up your house. At the end of the day, no matter what you do to the house, the comps will clearly speak for itself. You could do whatever you want to it, but it's better to be the worst house in the neighborhood than the best house in the neighborhood, because whatever your neighborhood houses are selling for, that's exactly what your house is going to be selling for. So I have people who want to spend close to $50,000 putting in a pool thinking it's going to help their value, and unfortunately it does not. People wanting to spend $30,000, $40,000 fixing up everything because their houses may be original. Original doesn't necessarily mean bad. Now, if it's original with cracks and wallpaper is peeling off, then yes, by all means, fix it up. But if the original means that you have a pretty green bathroom or a pink bathroom, the tile's pink, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. So I wouldn't necessarily say go spend thousands of dollars doing that. At the end of the day, your neighborhood and your square footage is going to dictate your value. So just to show you, I brought in a copy of an appraisal. I will scoot up. I blacked out a lot of important information such as the addresses, but as you will see right here where it says square footage or lot size, the house lot size was 8,100, and one of the comps lot sizes were 7,200 square feet. The appraiser did a $9,000 adjustment. Also, the house that had a 6,000 square foot lot, which is 2,000 square foot different, there was a $20,000 adjustment, $20,000. You don't get that much of adjustment for in a pool. So if you look right here, the subject property has a pool and all the other properties did not have a pool. So the appraiser gave a $10,000 adjustment for a pool. So for an example, most of my friends that I know just ended up doing a pool and it cost them about $50,000. Well, when it comes time to appraising, the appraiser only gives you a $10,000 adjustment for that pool. Lot size, square footage size is really going to make a difference in this market. One of the things that let me look at the questions. What are the top 3 things that we should know? Be in good condition or update. They always make the example, you have one chance to make the first impression, and my opinion, as far as if you had only so much money to allocate, I would say landscaping. Landscaping, landscaping, landscaping. If the front yard looks absolutely beautiful, you at least got them in your front door. And that's the main thing, is getting people in your front door. And once they go in, if the house isn't necessarily granite countertops and up to par, that's okay. They can see past that and make an imagination. Unfortunately, we have showed property to people and we drive by and the grass is completely dead. The front door has peeling paint. There is maybe a gate around the front, or the front is not peeling. Therefore, people just want to drive by. They don't even want to go into the front door. And if you can't get people to get out of their car and go into that front door, you're completely lost. Another thing that I wanted to mention, and I made sure I wrote down, I was showing property the other day to a client, and when we walked in, they had vaulted ceilings, and right across the seam of the vaulted ceilings, there was a big giant crack. And I said, oh, don't worry, when we get our physical inspection, we can find out what that's from. But the crack looked really devastating. It looked like it could be water damage, damage of the roof, a huge leak. And of course, since we don't know, our imagination goes everywhere. And it was one of the things that deterred the clients from wanting to go further in the house. They wanted to go look at other houses. Later on that day, that agent called to ask our opinion on the house and what we thought about it, and if we could give her our opinion about it. And we did bring up the crack, and we said, unfortunately, that big crack there was scary. And his opinion was, or his response was, unfortunately, it was a bad paint job. Whoever painted it and did the drywall didn't tape it very well, and therefore it is a bad tape job and it needs to be fixed. Something like that, where people have to or can come to their own conclusions or come to their own imagination, fix that. Some people are so worried about a granite countertop where no one really cares about the countertop. They see a huge crack going across the ceiling. So if there is a mark, and people could maybe come to their own assumption about that, as that could be something else, fix it before you even put it on the market. If there's cracks or anything that's peeling, fix it. Get the minor things fixed. Putting on brand new floors or redoing the bathroom isn't going to make a difference. The other thing that really comes into value is decluttering. I know that sounds stupid and it doesn't add anything to the value, or at least you wouldn't think, but if you have a bunch of big furniture in the room, the house looks so much smaller. People cannot see past certain things. Now, granted, there is a 203K loan, which is a rehab loan, and we will come back later on and address that. Jerry will come on and tell you about that, and that's more of the rehab loan. But a lot of people don't want fixer-uppers. They want houses that are move-in ready. And if you have big furniture and clutter everywhere, then your house isn't going to sell. People aren't going to go from room to room. They quietly look and peek their head in each room, and they walk out. And if you have clients that are just peeking their head in without fully walking into the bedroom, that says a lot. You also want an agent who is going to be able to tell you, hey, you need to pick this up. You need to clean that. I know people have a lot of personal belongings, pictures all over the walls. Take your pictures down. It's nice to have one or two pictures, but people also want to personalize themselves and picture themselves living in the house. And if you have too many things that are all over of you, they can't necessarily visual themselves living in the property. They want to be able to picture them living there, not all your stuff everywhere. So declutter, get a lot of things out. Depersonalize is a better word. Yeah, get rid of all your knickknacks. Adding on a bathroom, yes, it does help. Adding from a one bathroom to a second bathroom definitely adds lots of value. I don't know about adding a third bedroom or a bathroom. It just depends on the house. The other thing too, guys, is layout. People are so worried about whether or not their house is fully upgraded. Your house needs to flow. If you have one bedroom way over here, and then like the house we saw the other day, it had a living room, a family room, a den, and then another little room. It's too spread out. People want the basic open living room. If your kitchen looks really, really small, and you see that if you open the wall between your kitchen and your living room and open it up, and that won't cost you that much money, you're a lot better off opening walls and making things appear a lot bigger than what it really is. So yes, I wouldn't necessarily do a lot of construction when selling your house. A lot of times you want to sell it as is, but you also want a floor plan that flows. And at the end of the day, you have one chance to make a first impression. And the main thing is price, 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 price. And unfortunately, right now, we have so low inventory that any house that is listed right, and a lot of buyers will see this, that they're writing multiple offers or there's multiple offers written on house. The good houses that are listed right and the agent knew how to list it, they're going to sell within 1, 2, maybe even 3 days. The houses that sit on the market for, say, 120 days, people assume that there's something wrong with the property. Why is it sitting on the market 120 days? Is the seller not cooperative? Is there something wrong with the property? What's wrong with the property? So unfortunately, with stuff like that, you're constantly chasing the market down. You're constantly chasing the value down lower and lower and lower. You have one chance to set the value on it, and you want to set it right. You also need to be very careful when picking your agent. I have heard of several scenarios where the value of the house is, say, around 700, and the seller really, really wants 900 out of it, and will call a listing agent and say, hey, will you list it for 900,000? And the listing agent is so desperate for a listing, they say, sure, why not? I'll list it. Sellers, you really got to think twice about that. If your agent is so willing to list it at whatever price it is, knowing good and well that it's going to sit on the market for months and months and months, then that's not an agent you want, because you want an agent who's going to be able to not only negotiate with you, but negotiate with clients. So if they're not willing to show you the comps and tell you the truth about the value, what happens when you do get into contract and there is a problem with the buyer and they don't know how to negotiate? Are they going to fall very easy and not negotiate correctly on your behalf? Do they not know the contract enough to negotiate it? Do they not know the loan process good enough to negotiate it? So you also want an agent who's going to stand firm on what they feel the price is, stand firm on what they feel like their value is as far as commission goes too. You need an agent who's willing to stand stride. Those are the agents that you want to hire to list your property, because you know that when it comes down to it, they're going to get the very best price. And just because they list it at something like $725 doesn't mean you'll get $725. You might get $750. You might get $765. But what they're doing is they're drumming up the traffic to bring people in, because the faster you get as many offers as you can, unfortunately, people want what other people want. And when you have multiple offers, that's when people start overbidding. If you have a house that's been on the market 120 days, no one's going to say, hey, I'm going to write an offer for $10,000 over this asking price. It's not going to happen. They're going to list it, and you're going to write an offer for about $30,000 under, because you feel like it's been on the market for 120 days. So you need to really be careful with that. Let me look at some of the questions. How do you handle clients that are delusional about their value? Just need to be honest. At the end of the day, real estate is really black and white, even though people think there are gray areas. The contract is a contract. It doesn't change. And as long as you know the contract, you can negotiate it really well. Now, at the end of the day, the comps are the comps. You can spend $50,000 doing all the best upgrades. And if in your neighborhood, within the 1 mile radius, every single house is selling for $500,000, and they're the same square footage, and they're the same size, and they're the same lot size, and everything's the same, you're not going to be getting $600 for your house. You might get $520, but that's about it. And even if all the houses in the neighborhood are going for $500 and you have nothing in your neighborhood that is above $500, and you think you're going to sell it for $520, you could probably get an offer for that, but you're also going to have to come across an appraisal issue. And there's a lot of loans out there who are people putting 3.5% down and 10% down, and they're exhausting all their funds to put money down, and they don't necessarily have $30,000 to pay for a value above appraised value. So if you buy a house at $525 and it does not appraise at $525, you have two options. You can either cancel and back out. you can go to the seller and say, hey, seller, it didn't appraise for the price. Can we go back and renegotiate it? And if the seller and you come to an agreement on the value, then great, you move forward. If the seller does not come to an agreement on the value, you can then back out. The other option is you pay the difference. So if the seller says, no, sorry, I'm going to stick to my guns at 525 and it only appraised for say 510, you're going to pay that $15,000 difference on top of your loan. So if you're already paying 20% down on top of your 20% down and on top of your closing costs, you're going to pay a $15,000 cost for buying it above appraised value. So unless it's something that you really, really love, a lot of people aren't willing to pay above appraised value. I mean, there are some who will go maybe 5,000 or 6,000 above appraised value, but not a good 20, 30,000. So you really need to make sure that you're keeping your upgrades of your house with the neighborhood. You don't want to be a massive 2-story house with a bunch of single family residents. Now, if you're building the second story because you're planning on living there forever and it's something that you want to fit your family size, great, awesome. You'll be there for a long time. But if you're adding on this huge 2 stories and it does not sustain the neighborhood, which means that there's no other houses in the neighborhood that are like for like, then your house is going to stay on the market or you're going to have to sell it at what the other houses are selling for. Anyone else on here? I see there's a lot of people on, have questions about value. The main thing is the neighborhood. The neighborhood is going to determine your value every single time. The comps. And the way the appraisers do it is they take your house and they go 1 mile out. And then they also take everything that is closed and they go back 6 months. Now, if you're wanting to sell your house and you see a house on the market and it's been on the market for a while at 650 and you think, hey, they're asking for 650, I can get 650 on my house. That's not the case. Just because they're asking for it does not mean they're going to get 650 for that house. It can sit on the market for a really, really, really long time. So they're only going to use closed comps. Anything active does not count when doing an appraisal. You want to definitely only go with closed comps and within 1 mile radius. If you see awesome houses that are outside the 1 mile radius, they're not going to use it. And then if you're also on a city borderline, we've had houses that were Anaheim borderlining Fullerton, and there were maybe nicer houses pushing one way versus the other way. Most appraisers will only go one way. 2 big important things about appraisals. It is subject to opinion. One appraisal might come in with one value and one appraisal might come in with a different value. And if you're getting a conventional loan, you can argue that and you can get a second opinion. If you're getting an FHA loan, that FHA appraisal is going to stick with that property for 6 months. So sellers, really, really pay attention to this. If you're accepting an offer and the offer is an FHA offer and it does not come in at value, whatever that appraisal is. So if buyer A gets an appraisal and that appraisal comes in at 600 and you're not willing to accept 600 and you cancel that buyer B, C, D, anyone else who gets an FHA loan is going to have to stick to the appraised value of that original FHA one, at least for 6 months. That appraisal sticks with the property for 6 months. Now that's only FHA. If buyer A was FHA and did 600 and then they cancel and you get buyer B, C, and D and they're all conventional, then they can get a different opinion. But if you have an FHA appraisal, it's going to stick with the property for 6 months. So be careful when thinking that. 2, if you don't have an agent who knows stuff like this and doesn't know appraisals, you need to really have the right agent when selling your house because it does make all the difference in the world. How many bathrooms is it good to have a tub in both bathrooms or just one? A lot of houses right now have only a shower. A bathtub does help. It doesn't change the value when you are appraising it. It just helps how many buyers you have. So unfortunately out there are families with little kids and you want to give them a bath and a bathtub. And if you have a bunch of families coming to look at your house and your house only has showers it's really going to stop a lot of the buyers who definitely have families from coming and possibly writing an offer on your house. It's not going to change the value. The appraiser is not going to say anything different because this one has 2 showers and no bathtub and this one has a bathtub. Value-wise, it's not going to change it, but it's also going to limit your buyers. And the main thing is you want to get as many buyers in the house as you can. The best thing is actually to do an open house and have people come in the open house and just completely overbid each other. That's the best way to get it up. Zillow tells me my value is higher. Why can't I sell my house for that? Zillow is so incorrect. It's incorrect on everything. If you are looking on Zillow and you call your realtor and say that I want this house, and your agent says, oh, I'm sorry, that's already sold, you really need to talk to your agent about getting on automatic email drip, about downloading their app. Keller Williams has a great KW app. It's connected to the MLS. You can see houses instantly. And with that said, you have a more update of what's going on opposed to finding out the house sold 2 days later. But value-wise, unfortunately, Zillow does not see the inside of the houses. It doesn't see if there is upgrades. It doesn't see if it's original. It doesn't really see sometimes if it has a pool. It just goes off of square footage and lot size. So it is comparing you with all the square footage and lot sizes in the neighborhood. But if your house is original and the house down the street has all the upgrades, there are going to be credits for having an upgrade where Zillow doesn't necessarily see what the inside of your house looks like. Oh yes, home style is for conventional loans. Yeah, Jerry will definitely be coming in here to talk about home style and 203K loans, and those are for rehab loans. So if you find a house that is not necessarily move-in ready and you want to do that, you can actually finance those costs in your loan. So if you don't have $50,000 to necessarily put on a house, you can put it in the cost of the loan. The neighborhood just has to sustain it. They're actually great loans. A lot of people do not know about it, but that is going to be a really long show. So we're bringing in Jerry and he is going to go over all of that. Yeah, and Zillow doesn't know the neighborhood like realtors. It really does too matter about the realtor. You know, I will refer things out if they're super far away, because then I don't know if I can necessarily best represent that neighborhood. I do think price matters, but you also want a realtor who knows the neighborhood, who knows that in Whittier Boulevard, there is a big definition between above Whittier Boulevard and below Whittier Boulevard, or between Lambert and Leffingwell. There are defined streets in certain neighborhoods, and being on one side of a street versus the other side of the street could be a difference of $50,000, sometimes even $100,000. And if you don't have an agent that knows the difference between what streets are what, it's hard, and you need to list it at the right price right away. If you list it too high, you're going to be constantly chasing the market down. So before you even think of putting it on the market, you want to talk to a realtor a few weeks ahead of time. Have them come in, tell you what needs to be done to the property, and then give you values on it. This is what it will take if you leave it as is. This is what it will take. I'm not saying you have to do all this remodel to your house, and actually it's probably better that you don't. But you also don't want to leave it as is. You want to declutter and fix things that people can necessarily think that would be watermarks or stains. Now, granted, you're going to have to disclose anything anyways. So if you have something that's a watermark, you're going to have to end up disclosing it. So stuff like that, you know, you can cover it up, but you're going to have to disclose it. Something like a bad tape job because the drywall guy did not know how to tape that, you need to fix that. That can lead into something else. So that's it. I don't necessarily want these shows to be too long. Hopefully I gave everyone a good input on value. Landscaping, make sure they go in past the front door. Also, you want to declutter, and don't spend $50,000 fixing up your house because you're not going to get that much money out of it. You want to know what your neighborhood houses are selling for. Neighborhoods is what's going to sell it. Next week, we're going to be talking about reverse mortgages. By all means, I know it looks like I have a tree coming out of my house or my head because I didn't scoot back far enough, but we are Real Life and Realty. Yay! It's on Instagram. You can go on Real Life on Realty on Instagram. You can go on Real Life and Realty on Facebook. We are also going to be putting everything on YouTube. So we were going to have a YouTube channel. By all means, go on there, subscribe, like us, follow us. Go on Real Life and Realty, like us, follow us. Please even share the videos on your page. There is no greater compliment than I can get than a referral from a friend and family. So